The ship hit the ground hard. Metal screamed. Fire burst through the walls. Jay felt his body slam against the control panel, and then everything went dark. When he opened his eyes, smoke filled his lungs. He coughed and pushed himself up from the broken floor. His hands were cut and bleeding. His head hurt badly. But he was alive. Jay looked around the destroyed cockpit. Sparks flew from broken wires. The emergency lights blinked red, casting strange shadows on the walls. Through the cracked window, he could see a gray sky filled with dust. This was Kira 7, a small moon far from Earth. He had heard stories about this place. None of them were good. He was a cargo pilot. Nothing special. He moved supplies between stations and planets for a living. This was supposed to be a simple job. Pick up medical supplies from Station Delta. Deliver them to the colony on Kira 7. Get paid. Go home. But something had gone wrong. His ship had been hit by debris from an old satellite. The damage was too much. He lost control. And now here he was. Alone. On a moon that was torn apart by war. Jay pulled himself out of the pilot seat. His legs felt weak, but they still worked. He needed to check the damage. He needed to find a way to call for help. He needed to survive. The cargo hold was worse than the cockpit. Crates were smashed open. Medical supplies were scattered everywhere. Some of the containers were on fire. Jay grabbed a fire blanket and tried to put out the flames, but it was no use. Half of everything was already destroyed. He sat down on a broken crate and put his head in his hands. This was bad. Very bad. His communication system was dead. His ship would never fly again. He had maybe 3 days of food and water, and Kira 7 was not a friendly place. The war had ended 2 years ago. But the scars remained. Different alien groups had fought over this moon for decades. Now it was mostly abandoned. Except for raiders and smugglers who hid in the ruins. If they found him, they would take everything he had, maybe even his life. Jay stood up and walked to the hole in the ship's wall, where the metal had been torn open during the crash. He stepped outside and looked at his surroundings. Gray rocks stretched in every direction. In the distance, he could see the ruins of old buildings, half buried in dust. The air smelled like rust and something else, something burning. He was about to go back inside when he heard it. A small sound. Like a cry. It was coming from somewhere near the ship. Jay followed the sound. He walked around the broken hull, stepping over pieces of metal and wire. The crying got louder. It was coming from under a large piece of debris. He knelt down and lifted the metal sheet. What he saw made him freeze. It was a creature, small, very small. It fit in the palm of his hand. It had golden scales that shimmered even in the gray light. Tiny wings pressed against its body. A long tail wrapped around itself. 2 large eyes, bright as stars, looked up at him with fear. A dragon, a tiny dragon. Jay had heard legends about creatures like this. The aliens called them sun children. They were sacred to some of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. But he had never seen one. He thought they were just stories. The little dragon was hurt. One of its wings was bent at a wrong angle. Golden blood dripped from a cut on its side. It was shaking badly. Jay reached out his hand slowly. The dragon flinched and tried to move away. But it was too weak. It made a small, sad sound that broke Jay's heart. "It's okay," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." He did not know if the creature could understand him. But his voice seemed to calm it a little. The dragon stopped shaking and looked at him with those big, bright eyes. Jay gently picked up the creature and held it against his chest. It was warm. Warmer than anything he had ever touched. Like holding a small piece of the sun. "How did you get here?" he whispered. The dragon made a soft purring sound. It pressed its tiny body closer to his heart. Jay felt something strange in that moment. A connection. Like the creature was reaching into his soul. He carried the dragon back to the ship. He found a clean cloth and wrapped it carefully around the little body to keep it warm. He used some of the medical supplies to clean the wound on its side. The wing was harder to fix, but he did his best to straighten it and hold it in place with a small bandage. The dragon watched him the whole time. It did not try to run or fight. It just watched with those intelligent eyes, as if it was studying him. When Jay finished, he sat down with the creature in his lap. He was tired, more tired than he had ever been. But he could not sleep. Not yet. He needed to think. He needed to make a plan. That was when he heard footsteps outside the ship. Jay's heart jumped. He held the dragon closer and stayed very still. Through the hole in the wall, he saw a figure approaching. It was a young woman. She had silver-white hair that fell past her shoulders. Her skin was pale blue, marking her as one of the Kiran people who had once lived on this moon. She wore simple clothes, torn and dirty. But her eyes were sharp and careful. She stopped at the edge of the wreckage and looked at Jay. Then her eyes moved to the dragon in his arms. Her face changed. Fear. Wonder. Something like hope. "You found one," she said. Her voice was soft but clear. A son child. Jay did not move. He did not know if this woman was friend or enemy. On Kira 7, it was hard to tell. "Who are you?" he asked. The woman stepped closer. "My name is Hana. I am one of the last of my people." She looked at the dragon again. "And that creature you are holding is the last of its kind." Jay looked down at the tiny dragon. It had fallen asleep against his chest, its small body rising and falling with each breath. "The last?" he repeated. Hana nodded slowly. "The raiders have been hunting them for years. Their blood is worth more than gold on the black markets. This one must have escaped from their ship. It probably fell from the sky, just like you did." Jay felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "Raiders? Here?" Hana's eyes grew dark. "They control this part of the moon. They probably saw your ship crash. They will come looking for supplies. For survivors." She paused. "For the sun child." Jay held the dragon tighter. The creature stirred in its sleep but did not wake. "I won't let them take it," he said. Hana studied his face for a long moment. Then, slowly, she smiled. It was a sad smile, full of old pain and new hope. "You are human," she said. "I have heard stories about your kind. They say you are strange. They say you protect things that are not yours to protect. They say you fight for creatures you have just met." Jay shrugged. "Maybe we're just stubborn." Hana's smile grew a little wider. "Then you will need to be very stubborn, human, because the raiders will be here before sunrise, and they will not stop until they have what they want." Jay looked out at the gray sky of Kira 7. Somewhere in the distance, he could hear the sound of engines. They were coming. He looked down at the sleeping dragon in his arms. He thought about his broken ship, his lost cargo, his chances of survival. They were not good. They were not good at all, but for some reason, he did not feel afraid. He felt something else, something he had not felt in a long time. Purpose. "Let them come," he said quietly. "I'm not going anywhere." The night on Kira 7 was cold. Colder than Jay had expected. He sat inside the broken ship with his back against the wall, watching the tiny dragon sleep in a small nest he had made from torn cloth. The creature's golden scales glowed softly in the darkness, like a candle that would not go out. Hana sat across from him, her silver hair catching the faint light. She had not left. When Jay asked her why, she just said she had nowhere else to go. But he knew there was more to it. She was watching the dragon with eyes full of something he could not name. Love, maybe. Or grief. Or both. "Tell me about them," Jay said, breaking the silence. "The sun children." Hana was quiet for a moment. Then she began to speak. "Long ago, when my people first came to this moon, we found them here. Hundreds of them. They lived in the mountains, in caves made of crystal. They were not pets. They were not animals. They were something more, something sacred." She looked at the sleeping dragon. They could feel emotions. When someone was sad, they would come and press their warm bodies against them. When someone was sick, they would lay on their chest and sing. Their song could heal wounds. Their blood could cure diseases. Their light could chase away the darkness in a person's heart. Jay listened carefully. And the raiders found out. Hana's face grew hard. Yes. Word spread across the galaxy. People came from everywhere. Some wanted to study them. Some wanted to sell them. Most wanted to kill them and take their blood. Her voice cracked. We tried to protect them. We fought for years. But there were too many enemies and too few of us. One by one, the Sun Children disappeared. Captured. Killed. Until there were none left. She looked at the tiny dragon again. Or so we thought. Jay felt a heavy weight in his chest. He looked at the small creature, sleeping peacefully, unaware of the danger it was in. It was so small, so fragile, and it was the last of its kind. I won't let them take it, he said again. Hana smiled that sad smile of hers. I believe you. Human. But belief alone will not stop bullets. They sat in silence after that. Jay tried to sleep, but he could not. Every sound made him jump. Every gust of wind made him reach for the metal pipe he had found in the wreckage. It was not much of a weapon, but it was better than nothing. The dragon woke up once during the night. It made a soft sound and crawled out of its nest. It climbed up Jay's arm and settled on his shoulder, pressing its warm body against his neck. Jay felt that strange connection again, like the creature was trying to tell him something. It likes you, Hana said softly. Jay reached up and gently touched the dragon's head. It purred and closed its eyes. I like it too, he admitted. Morning came slowly. The gray sky turned a little lighter, but the sun never really appeared, just a dim glow behind the clouds of dust. Jay stood up and stretched his tired body. The dragon moved to his other shoulder but did not leave him. Hana was at the hole in the wall, looking outside. Her body was tense. They're here, she said. Jay's heart dropped. He moved to stand beside her and looked out. There were 5 of them. Big, rough-looking aliens of different species. They wore mismatched armor and carried guns that looked old but deadly. Their leader was the biggest of all. He had green skin, 4 arms, and a face covered in scars. He walked like he owned the moon. Maybe he did. The raiders stopped a short distance from the crashed ship. The leader looked at the wreckage and smiled. It was not a nice smile. Come out, he called. His voice was deep and rough. We know you're in there. We saw the crash. We saw the light. The light. They meant the dragon. Its golden glow must have been visible from far away. Jay cursed himself for not being more careful. Hana grabbed his arm. We need to run. There is a tunnel system under the old city. If we can reach it. And if we can't? Jay asked. She did not answer. She did not need to. Jay looked at the dragon on his shoulder. It was awake now, its bright eyes fixed on the raiders outside. It was shaking again, just like when he first found it. It knew what those men wanted. I'll distract them, Jay said. You take the dragon and run. Hana shook her head. No, the Sun Child has chosen you. It will not leave you. Look, Jay looked down. The dragon had wrapped its tail tightly around his arm. Its claws, tiny but sharp, gripped his shirt. It was not going anywhere. Stubborn little thing, Jay muttered. The leader outside was getting impatient. I'll give you 10 seconds. Then we start shooting. 10. 9. 8. Jay made a decision. He picked up his metal pipe and walked toward the hole in the wall. What are you doing? Hana hissed. Being stubborn, he said. He stepped outside into the gray morning light. The raiders saw him immediately. They raised their weapons. The leader held up one of his 4 hands. Wait. He walked closer, his scarred face twisting into a grin. A human. Don't see many of your kind out here. His eyes moved to the dragon on Jay's shoulder. And you have something that belongs to me. Jay tightened his grip on the pipe. It doesn't belong to anyone. The leader laughed. It was an ugly sound. Everything belongs to someone, human. That creature is worth more than your entire planet. Its blood can buy armies, its scales can buy kingdoms. He took another step forward. Hand it over, and I'll let you walk away. You can even take the Kirin girl with you. I'm feeling generous today. Jay did not move. No. The leader's smile faded. No? No. For a moment, no one moved. The wind blew dust across the gray rocks. The dragon pressed closer to Jay's neck, its small body trembling. Then the leader sighed. Humans. I've heard you're all crazy. I didn't believe it until now. He raised his hand and made a signal to his men. Kill him. Try not to damage the creature. The raiders raised their guns. Jay stood his ground. He knew he could not win this fight. He knew he would probably die. But something inside him refused to run. Something inside him refused to give up this small, helpless creature that had chosen to trust him. He thought about his life back on Earth. His small apartment. His boring job. His empty days. He had never done anything important. He had never mattered to anyone or anything. But right now, in this moment, he mattered to this tiny dragon that was holding on to him like he was the only safe thing in the universe. That had to count for something. Come on then, he said quietly. He raised his metal pipe. Let's see what happens. The leader shook his head. Stupid human. He dropped his hand. The raiders opened fire. Jay moved without thinking. He turned his back to the guns and wrapped his body around the dragon, shielding it with everything he had. He felt the dragon's warmth against his chest. He heard its frightened cry. He closed his eyes and waited for the pain. The first bullet hit his back, then another, and another. But something was wrong. The pain came, sharp and burning. But then it faded. It faded too fast. And his skin felt strange. Hard. Cold. Like it was made of something else. Something was happening to him. Something impossible. And it was only the beginning. The bullets kept coming. Jay waited for death. He waited for the darkness to swallow him. He waited for the end, but the end did not come. He could feel the impacts against his back. Hard. Fast. One after another. Each one should have torn through his flesh. Each one should have broken his bones. Each one should have killed him, but they didn't. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. The dragon in his arms was making a sound. Not the frightened cry from before. This was different. Deeper. Older. Like a song that had been sung for thousands of years. Its small body was glowing brighter and brighter, filling Jay's vision with golden light. And his skin was changing. Jay looked down at his hands. They were not his hands anymore. The flesh had turned gray. Not the gray of death, but the gray of metal. Of steel. Of something unbreakable. The color was spreading up his arms, across his chest, covering every part of his body like living armor. The bullets were bouncing off him. He could hear them hit and fall to the ground like rain. The pain was gone. All he felt was warmth. The warmth of the dragon pressed against his heart. The shooting stopped. Jay slowly stood up and turned around. His body felt different, heavier, stronger, like he was made of something that could not be destroyed. The raiders stared at him with wide eyes. Their guns hung loose in their hands. The leader's scarred face was twisted with shock and something else. Fear. What? The leader started to say. Jay looked at his own reflection in a piece of broken metal on the ground. His whole body was covered in that gray metallic skin. It was smooth and hard, like armor that had grown from inside him. But his eyes had not changed. They were still human. Still his. The dragon climbed up to his shoulder. It was still glowing, still singing that ancient song. It pressed its warm head against Jay's metal cheek, and he felt a wave of energy flow through him. Not just warmth. Power. Real power. Impossible, the leader whispered. That's impossible. Hana stepped out of the ship. Her pale blue face was lit up with wonder. Tears ran down her cheeks, but she was smiling. The bond, she said softly. The old stories were true. A sun child can choose a guardian. Someone pure of heart. Someone willing to sacrifice everything to protect them. She looked at Jay with those sharp, knowing eyes. You did not just shield the dragon, human. You gave yourself to it. And it gave itself to you. Jay did not understand. He did not understand any of this. But he could feel the dragon's presence in his mind now. Not words, but feelings. Gratitude. Trust. Love. This small creature loved him. It had given him its gift because it loved him, and he loved it too. He knew that now. He would die for this tiny being he had just met. He almost had. The leader recovered from his shock. His fear turned to anger. I don't care what you are, he growled. You're just one man, and that creature is worth a fortune. He turned to his raiders. Kill him. Use everything. Burn him if you have to. The raiders hesitated. They had seen what just happened. They had seen their bullets bounce off this human like he was made of stone. Now, the leader screamed. They attacked. One of them pulled out a blade and rushed at Jay. The blade was sharp. Sharp enough to cut through most armor. But when it hit Jay's arm, it shattered. The raider stumbled back in shock, holding the broken handle. Jay moved. He was not a fighter. He had never been a fighter. But his body seemed to know what to do. He grabbed the raider by the arm and threw him. The man flew through the air and crashed into a pile of rocks. He did not get up. Another raider fired at him with a bigger gun. Some kind of energy weapon. The beam hit Jay in the chest and pushed him back a step. It hurt. A little. But the metal skin held. He walked forward through the beam, step by step, until he reached the raider. He took the gun from the man's hands and crushed it with his bare fingers. The raider ran. Two more came at him from different sides. One had a chain. One had some kind of electric stick. Jay caught the chain, wrapped it around his arm, and pulled. The raider flew toward him. Jay hit him once, and he went down. The other one tried to shock him with the stick. Sparks flew everywhere, but Jay felt nothing. He grabbed the stick and broke it in half. That raider ran too. Now only the leader was left. The big alien stood his ground. All four fists clenched. But his scarred face had gone pale. He was afraid. Truly afraid. For maybe the first time in his life. What are you? He demanded. Jay walked toward him slowly. Each step made the ground shake a little. The dragon on his shoulder was still glowing, still singing softly. I'm just a cargo pilot, Jay said. His voice sounded different. Deeper. I move boxes for a living. I have a small apartment. I eat the same food every day. I am nobody. He stopped in front of the leader. They were the same height now, but the leader seemed smaller somehow, weaker. But today, Jay continued, I found something worth protecting. Something innocent. Something beautiful. And you tried to take it away. The leader swung at him with all four fists. The blows hit Jay's chest, his face, his stomach. They did nothing. The leader might as well have been hitting a mountain. Jay grabbed two of his arms and held them tight. The leader struggled, but he could not break free. Here's what's going to happen, Jay said calmly. You're going to leave this moon. You're going to tell everyone you know that the Sun children are under my protection now. And if anyone comes looking for them, if anyone tries to hurt them ever again, I will find them, and I will not be this gentle. He squeezed a little harder. The leader gasped in pain. Do you understand? The leader nodded quickly. All his pride was gone. All his threats were empty. He was just a scared bully now, facing something he could not beat. Jay let him go. The leader fell to his knees, holding his bruised arms. He looked up at Jay with hate in his eyes. But he did not dare to attack again. This isn't over, he said weakly. Others will come. Stronger than me. They'll never stop hunting that thing. Jay looked at the dragon on his shoulder. It looked back at him with those bright, beautiful eyes. It made a soft purring sound and nuzzled against his metal cheek. Let them come, Jay said. I'll be here. The leader stumbled to his feet and ran. He gathered his beaten raiders, and they fled into the dust. disappearing into the gray landscape of Kira 7. Jay watched them go. Then, slowly, the metal skin began to fade. It pulled back into his body, sinking beneath his normal flesh. Within moments, he looked human again. He felt human again, tired, sore, normal, but not completely normal. He could still feel the dragon's presence in his mind. That connection was permanent now. They were bonded. Forever. Hana walked up beside him. She was still crying, but her smile was wider than ever. "You did it," she said. "You actually did it." Jay let out a long breath. His legs felt weak. He sat down on a rock and tried to process what had just happened. "I don't even know what I did," he admitted. Hana knelt in front of him. She took his hands in hers. "You became something new, Jay. Something that has not existed for 1,000 years. A guardian. A protector of the Sun Children." She looked at the tiny dragon, which had curled up on Jay's shoulder and closed its eyes. Exhausted but safe. "And now," Hana said softly, "everything changes." 3 days passed on Kira 7. Jay spent most of that time learning what he had become. The metal skin could come and go as he wanted now. At first, it happened by accident. When he felt threatened, even by a loud noise or a sudden movement, the armor would appear. His whole body would turn gray and hard in less than a second. But slowly, he learned to control it. He could make just his hands turn metal, or just his chest, or his whole body. He could hold it for hours if he needed to. The dragon, which Hana called a sun child, never left his side. It slept on his shoulder. It ate small bugs and plants that Hana found near the old ruins. It made soft sounds when it was happy and sad sounds when it was worried. And through their bond, Jay could feel everything it felt. The connection was strange at first. Having another being's emotions mixed with his own was confusing. But after a while, it became natural. Like the dragon had always been part of him, like they had been waiting their whole lives to find each other. Hana taught him what she knew about the bond. It was not much. The old stories were vague and full of mystery. But she told him what she could. "The Sun Children do not bond with just anyone," she explained one evening as they sat around a small fire. "They can sense a person's heart, their intentions, their soul. Most beings in the galaxy are too selfish, too cruel, too broken. The dragon would never choose them." She looked at Jay with curiosity. "But it chose you. A human. A species that has only been traveling the stars for a few hundred years. A species that most of the galaxy thinks is young and foolish." Jay shrugged. "Maybe that's why. We're too young to be broken yet." Hana smiled. "Maybe." The dragon made a sound and crawled from Jay's shoulder to his lap. It looked up at both of them with its bright eyes, then curled into a ball and fell asleep. Its golden glow lit up the darkness around them. "It needs a name," Hana said. Jay thought about it. He had been calling it Little One in his head. But that did not feel right anymore. This creature was not just a pet or a companion. It was part of him now. It deserved a real name. He looked at the way its scales caught the light, the way its warmth filled his chest, the way it made him feel safe even in the most dangerous place in the galaxy. "Bile," he said finally. It was a Korean word from Earth. It meant star. The dragon opened one eye and looked at him. Then it made a happy sound and pressed closer to his stomach. It liked the name. "Bile," Hana repeated. "That is a good name." On the 4th day, visitors came. Jay heard them first. Ships, multiple ships, coming from the east. He stood up quickly, and the metal skin spread across his body before he even thought about it. Bile climbed to his shoulder, alert and watching. Hana came running from inside the crashed ship. "Raiders!" "I don't know." They waited as the ships grew closer. There were 3 of them. Smaller than raider vessels. Older, too. They did not look like military ships or trading ships. They looked like refugee ships, ships that had been running for a long time. The ships landed a short distance away. The engines died, and everything was quiet for a moment. Then the doors opened, and people started coming out. They were Kiran, dozens of them, men, women, children, all with that same silver hair and pale blue skin as Hana. They looked tired and scared. Their clothes were worn and dirty. Some of them were hurt. Hana made a sound, half sob, half laugh. She ran toward them. "You're alive," she cried. "You're alive." An old man with a long white beard stepped forward from the group. He embraced Hana tightly, tears running down his face. "We heard the rumors," he said. "We heard that a son-child had been found, that someone was protecting it. We had to see for ourselves." He looked past Hana to where Jay stood, still covered in metal armor, with Buell glowing on his shoulder. The old man's eyes went wide. "By the ancestors," he whispered. One by one, the Kiran people saw Jay. They stopped moving. They stopped talking. They just stared, with looks of shock and wonder and hope. A young boy broke free from his mother's hand and ran toward Jay. Before anyone could stop him, he was standing in front of the armored human, looking up with huge eyes. "Are you the guardian?" the boy asked. Jay did not know how to answer. He looked down at this small child who had probably seen terrible things, who had probably lost friends and family to the wars and the raiders, who had probably never known a safe place to sleep. The metal skin faded from his body. He knelt down so he was at the boy's level. "I don't know what I am," he said honestly. "But I promise I'll try to protect you. All of you." The boy smiled. It was a small smile, uncertain and fragile. But it was real. Bile made a soft sound and flew from Jay's shoulder. It hovered in the air in front of the boy, its tiny wings beating fast. Then it pressed its warm head against the boy's cheek. The boy laughed. It was the most beautiful sound Jay had ever heard. The Kiran people gathered around. They touched Jay's arms, his hands, his face. They thanked him in their language, with tears in their eyes. They looked at Bile like it was a miracle. Because it was. Hana brought the old man, who was her grandfather, to meet Jay properly. "My name is Day," the old man said. "I was a keeper of the old stories before the wars. I never thought I would live to see a guardian. I never thought I would see a son-child again." He took Jay's hand in both of his. His grip was weak with age, but his eyes were strong. "You have given us hope, young human. For the first time in many years, my people have hope." Jay felt uncomfortable with all the attention. He was not a hero. He was just a man who had crashed his ship and found a hurt creature. Everything that happened after was just luck, or fate, or something he did not understand. But when he looked at the faces around him, he saw something that mattered more than his discomfort. He saw people who had been running for years, finally standing still. He saw children who had grown up in fear starting to smile. He saw an entire people on the edge of extinction finding a reason to believe they might survive. Maybe that was worth more than his doubts. Hana organized the refugees. They set up camp around Jay's crashed ship. Tents were built. Food was shared. For the first time, the gray landscape of Kira 7 felt almost like home. That night, Jay sat alone at the edge of the camp. Bile was asleep in his lap, its golden glow gentle and warm. He looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, his home, his old life. He knew he could never go back to that life. Not now. Not after everything that had changed. He was something different now. Something new. Hana sat down beside him. "What are you thinking?" she asked. Jay was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I'm thinking about what comes next." Hana nodded. "The raiders will tell others what they saw. Word will spread. People will come. Some to worship. Some to destroy. I know. Are you afraid?" Jay looked at the sleeping dragon in his lap. He felt its presence in his mind. Its trust. Its love. "No," he said. And for the first time since he crashed on this moon, he truly believed it. 2 weeks after the Kiran refugees arrived, the real enemy came. Jay was teaching some of the children how to repair electronic equipment when he felt it. A warning. Sharp and sudden, like a knife in his mind. It came from Bile, who was playing with the children nearby. The little dragon stopped moving and turned toward the sky. Its golden eyes were wide with fear. Something was coming. Something bad. Jay stood up quickly. Everyone inside. Now. The children ran. Their parents grabbed them and rushed toward the shelters they had built. Within minutes, the camp was quiet. Only Jay stood in the open. Watching the sky, Hana appeared beside him. What is it? I don't know yet. Then he saw it. A ship. But not like the raider vessels from before. This was bigger. Much bigger. It was black and shaped like a blade. Cutting through the dust clouds as it descended, weapons covered its hull. Lights flashed along its sides like angry eyes. Bile flew to Jay's shoulder and pressed against his neck. Through their bond, Jay felt the dragon's memory. This ship. This enemy. It had hunted sun children before. It had killed them, many of them. The ship landed hard, cracking the gray rocks beneath it. A door opened, and figures came out. They were not raiders. They were soldiers. Professional killers in matching black armor. 20 of them. Maybe more. They moved with the cold efficiency of people who had done this many times, and at the front of them walked their leader. He was tall and thin, with gray skin pulled tight over sharp bones. His eyes were completely white, with no pupils. He wore a long coat that moved like smoke in the wind. When he smiled, his teeth were black. So this is the famous guardian, he said. His voice was soft and smooth. I expected something more impressive. Jay felt the metal skin spread across his body. It covered him completely, turning him into a statue of living steel. Bile's glow intensified, and golden light mixed with the gray. Who are you? Jay demanded. The man bowed with mock politeness. My name is not important. What is important is what I represent. He gestured to the soldiers behind him. I work for people who want that creature you are protecting. People with more money than some planets. People who do not take no for an answer. He took a step closer. The raiders you defeated were nothing. Children playing with toys. We are something else entirely. Jay did not move. Then you know what happened to the raiders? Yes, impressive. The man's white eyes seemed to look right through him. But you see, we studied the old records. The legends of the Guardians. We know their strengths. He paused. And we know their weaknesses. He raised his hand, and the soldiers raised their weapons. But these were not normal guns. They glowed with a strange purple light, some kind of energy that made Buell shake against Jay's neck. Dragon fire, the man said. Harvested from sun children we captured before they died. The only thing in the galaxy that can burn through Guardian armor. Jay felt a chill. Even through the metal skin, he felt cold. You have one chance, the man continued. Give us the creature. Walk away. Live. Your choice. Jay looked over his shoulder. Behind him, hiding in the shelters, were nearly 100 Kirin refugees. Men, women, children. People who had finally found hope. People who believed in him. He looked at Bile. The little dragon looked back. Through their bond, he felt its message. Not words, but meaning. Whatever happens, we face it together. Jay turned back to the enemy. His metal hands formed fists. No, the man sighed. Predictable. He dropped his hand. The soldiers fired. Purple beams shot through the air. Jay raised his arms to block. The energy hit his metal skin. And this time, it hurt. It burned. He could feel his armor melting in places. Reforming. Melting again. It was working. Their weapons were working. But Jay did not fall. He pushed forward, step by step, through the burning fire, through the pain. The soldiers kept shooting, but he kept moving. Closer. Closer. Then Bile began to sing. It was the same song from before, when Jay first transformed, but stronger now. Deeper. The golden light exploded from the tiny dragon's body, surrounding Jay like a second skin. The purple fire hit the light and dissolved. It could not reach him anymore. Jay felt power flow through his veins. More than before. Much more. His metal skin changed color, turning from gray to gold. He was glowing now, shining like a star had come down from the sky. The soldiers stopped firing. They stepped back. Even through their helmets, Jay could see their fear. The thin man with white eyes frowned. Impossible. The record said nothing about this. Jay reached him in 3 steps. He grabbed the man by his coat and lifted him off the ground with one hand. The man struggled, but he might as well have been fighting a mountain. The records were wrong, Jay said. His voice echoed with strange power. Humans don't fight like the guardians of old. We don't have their wisdom. We don't have their history. We don't have their magic. He pulled the man closer. Their faces were inches apart. But we have something else. We have stubbornness. We have love. And we never, ever give up on the things we care about. He threw the man. The thin figure flew through the air and crashed into a group of his own soldiers. They all went down in a heap of black armor. The remaining soldiers looked at each other. Then, as one, they turned and ran back to their ship. They dragged their fallen comrades with them. Within minutes, they were gone. The black ship rose into the sky and disappeared into the clouds. Jay stood alone in the silence. The golden light faded slowly. His armor returned to gray, then disappeared entirely. He was just a man again. Tired, sore, but alive. Bile pressed against his cheek and made a happy sound. Through their bond, Jay felt the dragon's pride. Its joy. Its love. We did it, little one, Jay whispered. We really did it. The refugees came out of their shelters. They gathered around Jay, looking at him with awe. The children reached for his hands. The old ones bowed their heads. Hannah stood at the front, tears streaming down her face. Grandfather Day walked forward. He was carrying something. An old scroll, yellow with age. He unrolled it carefully and showed it to Jay. It was a painting, ancient and faded. It showed a figure standing against a dark sky, covered in golden armor, with a small dragon on his shoulder. Behind the figure stood hundreds of people. Safe, protected, free. This painting is 1,000 years old, Day said. It shows the last guardian, protecting my ancestors from an enemy we thought would destroy us all. He looked at Jay with eyes full of wonder. You look just like him. Jay did not know what to say. 1,000 years. 1,000 years ago, someone like him had stood against the darkness. And now, here he was, doing the same thing. Maybe that was what being human meant. Not strength, not intelligence, not technology. Just the simple, stubborn refusal to let evil win. The willingness to stand between the helpless and harm, even when it cost everything. Hannah stepped forward. She knelt in front of Jay. Her head bowed. On behalf of my people, she said, I pledge our loyalty to you, Guardian. Where you go, we follow. What you protect, we protect. Your enemies are our enemies. Your home is our home. Find the place. One by one, the other Kirin people knelt. Even the children. Even old Day. They all bowed their heads to Jay, this strange human who had fallen from the sky and changed everything. Jay felt tears in his eyes. He had never been important before. He had never belonged anywhere. He had spent his whole life floating through space, alone, with no purpose, but not anymore. He reached down and gently lifted Hannah to her feet. Then he did the same for the others. Stand up, he said. All of you. I'm not a king. I'm not a god. I'm just a guy who wants to help. He looked at Bile, who purred happily on his shoulder. We're going to build something here, Jay said. A place where the Sun children can live in peace. A place where your people can call home. A place where anyone who needs protection can find it. He looked out at the gray landscape of Kira 7. It was empty and broken. But it would not stay that way forever. We have a lot of work to do, he said. And for the first time since he crashed on this moon, Jay smiled.